All right,
Good to
everybody.
see you.
So we have Rayon Bass here, TikTok star and music legend, has a new album out, Synthetic Aperture, that he's here to talk about. Rayon, welcome. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. It's nice to see you both.
You too.
Me as well.
So Rayon, we were looking through your TikTok account and listening through your discography on Spotify. And as your description says, you transcend genre. Tell us about your musical influences. I mean, it seems like you're drawing from a lot of sources here.
Sure. Uh, well, first and foremost, I started out with acoustic guitar.
Huh.
And as your previous guest mentioned, that's really kind of a foundational thing when you look forward. If I sit down to block out harmonization,
For sure.
I'll often drag out the acoustic guitar because it's just
Yeah.
straightforward.
No, I feel the same way. I mean, as John said as well, that's kind of my main instrument. And how some people are really familiar with the piano, and that's how they, sit down and compose music and arrangements on the piano. I definitely can more like visualize it and do it better on a guitar. So I definitely understand that. Where's your recording studio at? Where are you coming from?
I'm based in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Oh, nice. I have some family up there.
Yeah, it seems like almost everybody from elsewhere has family somewhere around here.
Is it snowing there yet?
Oh, we had flurries about 2 weeks ago, but they didn't amount to anything.
It's about 70 degrees here today.
Oh, I think we had a high of about 54.
Damn.
Yeah,
Well, yeah. Tell us more about Synthetic Aperture. I think it's a collection of your singles, correct?
that's correct. Yeah. I always like to get the singles out, partly because I tend to do the video clips to go with them piecemeal.
Mhm.
And I kind of decided that I wanted to release albums in part because if you were to go to the copyright office, it's easier and quicker and a little cheaper to copyright an album. So the compilation works for me. I'm not sure it would work for everybody else.
Right.
I kind of toyed with the idea of introducing one or two new songs with Synthetic Aperture, but I didn't want to delay the release of the album too much. I basically put out the previous year's album, which is the 0 year, maybe about 10 days prior to that. So 23 songs came out in album form for me within about 10 days.
Wow.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
And those are your first releases?
Yeah, I started releasing basically non-monetized on SoundCloud, and that goes back to like February of 2019.
Okay.
And I did my first monetized release to Spotify, Apple Music, all the streaming services in May of 2020. And it kind of didn't amount to much. If you threw a rock into a pond and didn't see a single ripple, that's more or less what happened with that first song.
Yeah, that's how it is with those streaming services. It's pretty hard to make a splash in there.
Yeah, and I was very interested to look at all the different places that our distributor releases the music, and one of them was TikTok. And I definitely heard of TikTok. I knew what it was, but I couldn't figure out at first why my releases would go to TikTok. And at that time, 30-second preview clips would go to TikTok.
Right.
Unless you're like a major label or something.
And now I think it's longer snippets, correct?
60 seconds, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my very first TikTok video was basically about 15 seconds long. It's just the cover art and part of a song. And that kind of sat there for a while, but then I got the wheels turning in my head.
Sure, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And
self-marketing, it's like a guerrilla effort these days, you know what I mean? And how has TikTok been working out for you? How is your, because you're, I think it was Innocence, that song that came up on my For You page. And that one seemed to be, I don't know, performing well. Or how's your interaction or experience been on TikTok thus far?
I've really appreciated all the different likes and comments and things that the listeners have given me. The comments are often almost as thought-provoking as the concepts that you try to capture in your best songs or whatever. Probably the first song that really made a splash, in my opinion, on TikTok was the Woodside Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those songs when I was writing it, I thought to myself, this is almost a little too goofy for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that my kids would probably try to talk me out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I decided to write something a little bit like those line dances you see at weddings. Everybody takes a quarter turn at the end and they do it all again. And then when it came time to do the video, I thought, well, I can't find a band hall to do a song and dance in or anything like that. So I decided that my theme would be that I got locked out. And so that's where the video comes from.
Oh,
Clever.
that's clever. Yeah.
I love hearing the story behind that. And that reminds me, because I wanted to know, it's part of it is, making the video about it, and it's all tied in with the music. But what comes first usually, like the idea for the video, or like a song idea where you have like some chords, or you go from there, or what?
Generally, the video comes more or less last.
Gotcha.
The videos I do are basically lip sync videos, which is how TikTok got its start. Used to be Musical.ly, I think.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll start out with a mood or a theme, or maybe some phrase I think is kind of clever. I was thinking the other day about something to start off a new song, and you know how people say, I get it. And then they start saying some other stuff that clearly indicates that they don't.
Oh, yeah.
And so I thought, there should be a song like, say what you mean, or you don't mean what you say,
Yeah.
just fill it full of all the standard lies.
It's good. There should be a song.
Tell it to my girlfriend.
So that's the kind of idea I typically tend to start from.
And yeah, to touch back on the sounds of this music, you said you started with guitar, but I would say most, if not all, of your songs have synthesizers in them. So I guess first I want to ask, what DAW do you use?
I use Reaper.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
2 Reaper users. Right?
Always got musicians what DAW they use.
Yeah.
So had you had any keys experience, or do you like to mess around with MIDIs?
I do both.
Yeah.
Actually, I've been taking piano lessons for about the last 8 years.
Oh, nice.
A couple of my kids have taken piano lessons, and one summer I bribed one of them, and I basically was trying to get the kid to practice over the summer, which of course did not happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, okay, if you sit down at the piano with me once a week for 30 minutes, I'll give you $1. And, that's a major thing to, an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
And the outcome was that basically they lasted about 10, maybe 15 minutes. So I doubled
Would that be per
the
hour?
kid's salary.
$2. Yeah, $2 an hour.
Yeah, so that was enough to get a half hour out of my kid at that point. And I was at the point where I was, pretty seriously planning to retire. I'm basically retired.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't live super high, but my family has, what we need. So I've been pursuing music, and I downloaded Reaper on New Year's Eve 2018, I think.
Nice. This is a Christmas gift.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you can find all sorts of stuff cheap or for free to plug in. Not just Reaper, but almost any DAW.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a little bit about my pseudonym. I wasn't born with the name Rayon Bass, in case you were wondering.
What's the anthology behind that?
Rayon was one of the very first synthetic fabrics, and it was invented like the late 1920s. And since I, as you mentioned, kind of dig synthesizers, I thought, okay, it's a synthetic material. I like synthesizers. That sort of makes a fit.
Wow.
And then I thought about the fact that I have kind of a deep voice, and but I couldn't spell it BASS because people might think it was a fish.
Mm-hmm. A bass.
Right. Bass fishing is popular in this area. Yeah. So that's how it came out, Rayon bass.
It makes me like it so much better now. I know like the story behind it, that there's actually
Synthetic.
thought in it. Yeah, it is synthetic. It all goes. There's a theme behind it all that ties it all together.
You can really do great things with almost any DAW. Some are more expensive, of course, than others. You can go to get, you know, Pro Tools or whatever.
About one track, I think it was the third single.
Which one? Laminar Flow. Laminar.
No, about Goodbye Karen.
You pull it up on your Spotify.
It's Goodbye Karen, right?
Yeah.
Because that one, that probably had the least amount of sense. Like you kind of went back to your roots and it was mostly the guitar.
Yeah. One of the things I've gotten more into lately is I will mix the synthesizers or the sample sounds with acoustic.
Right.
Like one of the things I really felt worked reasonably well with Innocence Found is that I was finger picking acoustic guitar, and I recorded that with a pickup and also an external mic. And that allowed it to have kind of a stereo sound. And then on top of that, I layered sampled guitars from Sample Tank 4, which is one of the few things I've spent a fair amount of money on, other than my digital piano, which you can kind of see back here.
Is Sample Tank 4 just a sound library of samples?
Yeah, it's got a lot of other features. You almost use it standalone if you wanted to. Wow. The company that makes it's in Italy, and it can be huge. I bought kind of the medium big version.
I see.
You know, if you want to keep 250 gigabytes worth of sample data on your computer, you know.
That's a big commitment.
Yeah, but for things like Woodside Hotel, which is basically, you know, a jazz band tune, having the sampled orchestra instruments was huge.
Oh yeah, all those strings. Yeah. Well, I did see on your Spotify you should be coming out with another album soon. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I have plans November 10th.
Are you?
Well, I apologize. It's actually just a single. It's not an album. That's coming out on the 10th.
But that's a new release in like less than a week.
Wow, that's exciting. Yeah, what day is that coming out?
The 10th.
On the 10th, yeah. So Rayon Bass new single coming out this Wednesday, November 10th.
This might be a day after our podcast is out, but
that's true. It's going to be 2 days after.
So you can now listen to it.
You can now stream
Spotify.
Rayon Bass's new single. Sorry to interrupt. I didn't mean to pile drive that.
Right.
Stereo.
That was a stereo plug.
Yeah.
If you have hark back to some of the folk festivals that were done in the 90s, one artist I really liked was Michelle Schock. And there was kind of a bootleg recording that was one of her first releases. At the time, she was practically homeless. Wow. And someone was at the festival, got her permission to record, and then basically rushed it into production before she had a chance to really say much about it. And it became a big hit. And you can actually hear things like trucks going by or crickets while she's playing her solo guitar.
You know what I mean? That's like the real deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next single has a little bit of that flavor to it. It's definitely lo-fi.
Okay.
And it's got a little bit of a story. I think some of the fun songs or some of the ones that make you think have some kind of like
narrative.
Or even kind of a morality play to them.
We were just listening to some Marty Robbins, which is very narrative driven, you know, like country music stuff.
I don't think he wrote songs without stories to him.
Well, anyway, Rayon, again, thank you for your time. Thank you for gracing us with your presence, and you're welcome back anytime you want.
Great, I'd love to come back. One thing I will highlight for you is I'm wearing some new merch.
Oh yeah, let's see that.
Awesome.
Oh, there you go, Shelter. Yeah. That's beautiful. We're actually we checked out the phone cases for Midnight Hotel. Woodside Hotel. Yeah, sorry. We go check out those phone cases. They look dope. Brevin's just
I think I want to get one.
Brevin wants one really bad.
And then you probably also saw the dad cap.
Yep.
Nice.
I rock those.
We should get a coupon code to promote it.
Like 10% off with
you want to do 5%?
apple juice for 2?
I'd love to do something like that, except for one detail. I'm a pretty techie person, but
Okay.
I haven't figured out how to do the discount codes yet with the web hosting site.
You email us, and in the meantime, we'll just do word of mouth. All right.
Yeah.
Well, take it easy, Rayon. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, man.
Thank you so much for the invite. I appreciate it.
Have a good night.
And we're back. Wow.
Great stuff. Great interview,
stuff.
as always. Great people.
Yeah, thanks for coming on here on John. That was awesome, man. Anytime, you're welcome to come back. And also, Rayon Bass says he wants to come back, so that is in the works.
It's in the works.
It's in the works, and we're gonna have him back, and we're gonna get down to the core of some things because we have some questions. We have some questions here at the stew. With that being said, Isaiah, anything else?
I think that's all we got. That's all she wrote.
That's all
on
she
behalf
wrote.
of all AJF2 listeners, we thank you for tuning in to AJF2 Apple Juice for 2.
Absolutely.
Check
Thank you
us
for being
next
juicers.
week and this week and the week after the next and the week after the next and
That's
the
Friday,
next day.
the next Friday, okay?
And the next
Friday
day.
after that Friday,
And the next
all
day.
Fridays after that.
And the next day.
Okay? That's how it's gonna go. 12
always
a.m.
gonna be here.
every week.
We're
Get
always
used to
gonna
it.
be here.
It's not my fault. I mean, it is my fault because I'm instigating it all, but
And
whatever.
let me end by saying this: fuck Travis Scott.
Travis Scott, you're canceled.